In the late 1940s, 5 men who were considered enemies of the state by the Russian government were chosen to take part in an experiment involving sleep deprivation. The goal was to use small doses of an experimental gas that could supposedly eliminate the need for sleep in humans. However, they were political prisoners who were deemed to be enemies and therefore were imprisoned and experimented on. They were also promised freedom if they did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations were monitored, and as time passed, their stories would become darker and more sinister. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. As this all took place before CCTVs, so they only had microphones and thick porthole-sized glass windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. For the first 3 days, everything went well. All of their actions and dialogues were being monitored, and researchers noticed the prisoners opening up about past traumas. 4 days later, the conversations got even darker. After the 5th day, they slowly began to exhibit signs of stress. They became paranoid and stopped talking to one another, whispering about each other into the microphones, thinking that they could win the trust of the experimenters by betraying and turning in their fellow prisoners. 9 days in, the screaming began. One of the sleepless prisoners just started running around the chamber, yelling so hard that his vocal cords nearly broke. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering into the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering into the microphones. 3 more days passed. The researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it was impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. The experimenters were concerned that they weren't hearing anything from inside the chamber, so they did something unplanned. They used an intercom to try to get some sort of response from the prisoners. They explained that if they cooperated, prisoners would be freed. "We no longer want to be freed," said a calm voice. On the 15th day, the stimulant gas was replaced by fresh air, and the results were chaotic. 3 different voices began begging, pleading for the gas to be turned back on. The chamber was open and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subject thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on the fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth as the researchers initially thought. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Even the most experienced soldiers were afraid to bring the corpse outside. The captives refused to leave by force, fighting back with a powerful aggression none of the researchers could have imagined they possessed. They fought furiously against being removed. One even tore his own muscles and ripped his bone apart during the struggle. When asked why they had mutilated themselves, each gave the exact same answer: "I must remain awake." The researchers wanted to kill the prisoners and remove all traces of the experiment, but the commanding officer demanded it to be resumed immediately, with the researchers joining the inmates in the sealed chamber. Horrified, the chief researcher shot him point blank, then shot and killed the remaining surviving subjects and set about covering up all that had taken place. So now you must be asking, did the Russian sleep experiment actually happen, or is it just a creepypasta story? Well, I cannot answer for sure, since a lot of crazy stuff was happening during the time of World War II. War prisoners were being captured and strange human experiments were being conducted. Of this we have proof. So no one can say conclusively whether the Russian sleep experiment is real or fake. But what do you believe?